love really is the one thing that defines us all, and that the emotional kind of connection
Yeah.
is what I really love.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Parenthood. I'm Neha Garg, and I'm so thrilled to have you with us today. On this podcast, we dive into the unique, challenging, and always inspiring journeys of parenthood. Each week, we bring you stories from incredible parents who share their experiences, insights, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Today, we are celebrating the strength and resilience of parents who are raising their children single handedly. Joining me is Diyasree Chattopadhyay, a phenomenal editor who juggles multiple responsibilities with grace. A single mom raising two amazing kids, a dedicated professional, and an inspiration to us all. Diyasree, welcome to Parenthood.
Thanks, Neha. It's lovely being here. And can I say that I've not known you for very long,
Yeah.
but I've seen some of the work that you've done, and of course, we connected over a book club. And it's really been lovely watching the passion that you bring to your work as well, and all the interest that you have, and the time you make for everything. So yeah, I mean, I'm really honored to be here. And I just like to clarify that all the lovely adjectives that you said, much as they provide me with today's much needed validation, are a little over the top, where ordinary
Oh, that's
people
for us
wouldn't
to
already
decide,
think.
Diyashree. I think
Yeah.
that's for us to decide. You might think that,
Sure. No,
yeah,
no,
we think you're great and we'll stick with it.
you and my kids. So that's a good combination to have.
Yeah, I think that's what matters, right? If as long as your kids think the world of
That's
you.
what I tell myself. Yes.
And to start with, and to paint a picture of who you are beyond being a mom, can you share maybe three words or phrases that capture your essence?
Um, I think I've spent now 10 years just being a mom.
Yeah.
This is a difficult one. Um, but three words or phrases that captured me. Bookworm,
Mm-hmm.
that used to be an always college, till college. That's how I always kind of a reader first,
Yeah.
a thinker now. I
Mm-hmm.
think, I overthink, and someone who's very passionate about life.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very powerful words there, Shri. And if your life story was a book, what would it be called? And what chapter are you on currently?
Oh, I know this one because we've in various at various times kind of
Answered this
talked
question.
about this. Yes, yes, yes. Um, so my life story has this cover,
Mm-hmm.
um, which goes like, "Don't overthink,"
Uh-huh.
huh? And because I'm an editor, so proofreading marks here and there.
Yeah.
So once you cut it down to the acronym itself, it's do.
Ah,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So we came up with this once with a friend and a bunch of friends, just randomly, because this is always something that I say. Not always, but like for a very long time, it's something I've been saying at work, something I've been saying at in my personal life space. Don't overthink, you
Yeah.
know. And this is ironic because my other favorite slogan is from this film director that my father and I are really he's really fond of, and I really admire, Ritik Ghatak. And he says, think, practice thinking.
Oh. Mm.
So it's also about finding that balance between thinking and being, because that's something that you have to practice in order
Yeah.
to get better at. You don't ever perfect it, but you can keep getting better at it. But you don't overthink.
Yeah. Yeah.
That fine balance is what I'm trying to find. I don't know what chapter number because that would be like trying to predict how long the book is.
Yeah.
But it's about, somewhere in the 300s.
Mm-hmm.
Every day feels like an entire episode, a chapter. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Very
I
intriguing, very intriguing, Diyasree. And now tell us about your incredible family. Your two amazing children, Sham and Aranyani. Oh, sorry. Now
yeah.
I goofed up.
You got it right the first time. Aranyani, yes.
Yeah,
So Aranyani, that who everybody knows as Tia,
yeah.
because not too many people get the pronunciation right, including at school. Um, and yeah, so Incredible Family actually extends a little bit beyond that, because I think that there are, of course, friends and people at work and all
Yeah.
of that who are at the level of family. But my parents and my sister are the support system that I have that kind of helps me to bring up these two kids. And they're now 10 and 11 years old.
Yeah.
I've managed to convince them that it's a sign that your mother loves you if she doesn't know exactly how old you are when she's yelling at you.
Oh,
This is an actual scam that I've pulled off, because I would keep getting it wrong.
yeah.
Would say like, you're 9 years old, and this little child in front of you would be like very teary eyed on, you don't even know how old I am. So, so on one occasion, I kind of immediately, my mom was there, and I said that, Ma, how old am I? And she obviously got it wrong. It's
Yeah.
it's a family, it's a generation, a
Yeah.
genetic thing for us. We all get our kids' age. So I told them, see, Dima loves me, and she always gets my age wrong. So if I'm getting your age wrong, it means I love you. And they've believed in that. I've believed in that, and now I think I find it hard to get their ages right. But yeah, Tom is going to turn 12 this year. I mean nothing here. And Tia's going to be 11 this year. They're both born in October. And they're incredibly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course, all mothers think that, but um, very well turned out when they want to be.
Hmm.
Um, when they want to be is the
Yeah.
operative word. Um, very strong-minded, very
Mm.
strong-willed. They make their own decisions, and if I try to change that decision, maybe say if you're eat rice instead of eating a toast, for example,
Mm.
then I have on occasion been told that the reason they will not. Tia says this very often. She's like, the reason I won't be able to, I will be manipulated by people in my when I'm an adult is
Mm.
because you're not letting me have my choices when I'm a child.
Wow.
So this incredible maturity and independent thinking, of course, doesn't come solely from me.
Yeah.
It comes from uh, that powerful influencer for their generation, which is YouTube.
Yeah.
And but they're readers, um, and um, they're thinkers a
Yeah.
little bit. So I figure that as long as we're in this dialogue where we're talking things out and sharing things with each other, I figure we'll figure it out in the
Yeah.
long
Yeah. And also the
run.
other because they are so close in ages, like
Mhm.
just a year apart and exactly a year apart. You said they're both born.
11 days less than a year.
Oh, wow.
They're both born in the same month.
Are they more friends than siblings? How is their
They're
relationship?
frenemies.
They're frenemies.
They're absolute frenemies. Best of friends and worst of enemies.
Wow.
And of course, if you ask them, they will just say, we are enemies, and you know, we don't love each other, and this is the least supportive sibling that anyone could ever have, etc., etc. Any time of the day, night, etc. Even when they're hugging each other, they'll probably say something like that. But the thing is that whenever there's a time of weakness, and um, it could be anything. It could be somebody slipped and fell, or somebody's not had a good day. They've been yelled at, or they've been grounded, or whatever it is. Um, they're there for each other.
Yeah.
So I can sense the friendship.
Yeah.
It comes out in actions. It rarely comes out in words. And as they're growing older, it's also coming out less in in emotional gestures. Like they don't hug each other as much as they used to when they were younger. Of course, they're both about to hit puberty, going through
Yeah.
different, yes, so phases themselves. So it's really when they're fighting and they're wrestling each other as well
Yeah.
that a lot of the emotional physical contact kind of comes through.
Right.
So they will inevitably end up, either somebody will end up getting injured and there'll tears all over the place, or they'll end up, you know, laughing and sorting it out.
Can you share a bit about your journey into motherhood? How did it begin? How it has been? It has been 11 long years now. So how has it been for you?
It's been very incredible and gratifying and all those things. And the thing is that, so when I was a kid, an
Mm.
absolute kid, I was very sure that I didn't want to have kids. You
Wow.
know, yeah, I was probably at like 11 or 12 or something. I said, I am never having children. And my mom said, we'll see,
Yeah.
and just left it at that. So there was no, there was never any conversation at home about you have to get married or you have to have kids or anything like that. I finished my studies. I came to Delhi. I started working, and my parents have they were really, really, really. I won't say strict, but they were really dedicated to making sure that my sister and I got a great education.
Yeah.
They went out of their way. They sent us to the best school that they possibly could. They made sure that we got into like really good colleges, and they they gave us a love for learning, but also made sure that we kind of followed up on that, because
Yeah.
it's so easy to kind of lose your way, especially when you're young and excitable and all of that. So they made that happen, and they were happy with the life choices that we were making. And I think when I got married, my sister was married but didn't have a kid. She was abroad at that point of time, studying and things, and I was doing well at work. Uh, but nowhere was any of that a kind of forced thing from my parents. I think it was a good 2 or 3 years after really getting married that I realized I wanted kids,
Yeah.
and I was just about to turn 30.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still a year or so away, and I, uh, we decided to try and all of that. And the thing was that at that point of time, I had this very strong feeling that yes, this is something that I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing well at work. I had a great life, lots of friends and
Yeah.
good social life and all of that happening. But I still knew that this was something that I wanted in my life. And I'm really, really grateful. I mean, I would have been happy with one, certainly,
Yeah.
but I'm really grateful for having had two, because it's incredibly, incredibly good for me. And I hope it's good for them as well.
Yeah.
But it's been a lovely journey. But the one thing that I've always told people, right? I can say all of this about how gratifying it is, how satisfying it is, how much love there is, and all of that. But that's the Instagrammable portion of
Yeah.
your life,
Yeah.
which, as anybody who is on Instagram realizes, is a lot of editing
Hmm.
of a lot of footage,
Yeah.
and it's probably just one moment in the day or two moments in the day kind of thing. The rest of the time is just constant. It's a struggle against life. It's a struggle against the daily challenges, etc. So to take right now as an example, my daughter has decided that she wants to switch off the light to this room, right? And yeah, so suddenly my video has gone off. And I always say this, that any meeting where I tell them in advance that please, please, please don't interrupt, this is really important for me, is the one meeting that will get interrupted. You know, they're incredibly supportive of my work. I have to travel a lot. in the course of my work. I do work very long hours, not because I have to, but because I really love to.
Yeah.
And they give me all the space and all the support and everything I need.
Yeah.
But but the the day that there'll be that deadline that has to be met, that absolutely impossible deadline, that the day that there has to be that meeting that I don't want interrupted, is exactly the day that they will act up without exception. So right now in the background, they're battling each other. One of them wants to turn on the light because he understands that mom needs the light. The other one is determined not to have the light. Yes, and she's also, choosing to tell the world at 1 o'clock in the afternoon that she wants to sleep.
Yeah.
So this is part of the journey that
Yeah.
is there, and it's been incredible training for me
Yeah.
because so people at work have never really seen me ever yelling or losing my patience, and
Yeah.
I'm very calm, and at work I'm very calm and systematic. And I've often been told that, how do you do it? Like, we're in so much of tension, etc., etc. How do you kind of keep calm
Yeah.
and have it um, keep things together? And I'm like, because I've been so well trained.
Yeah.
Life is ensuring I'm getting the training I need. You're not happy with something, you're going to find a fix for it. You're going to move the light, you're going to find a new light, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's the journey. That's the I will I love what I have, but it's a really difficult thing to have and at times. But
Yeah.
that's what makes it so nice as well, because you
Yeah.
appreciate what you have when there are challenges on the way.
Yeah,
So
and also it's so nice that you put it, so I think bluntly that it's not all rosy. And while we hear about these things, I think it's also very, very complex in terms of what it makes us feel. And it's not one thing or the other. Like while you are accepting the good parts, it's not that you're overlooking the bad parts or the challenging parts, and it's not that you're just focusing on the challenges and then suddenly there are no positives to look at it. So I think it's very wholesome, the outlook that you have. But if I was to talk about your experience overall, what are those aspects of motherhood that bring you the most joy?
the cuddles, I think, and that's I mean that includes not only like the physical cuddles, but the sheer emotional
Yeah.
cuddles which are there, which is that whenever a child needs you
Yeah.
and really, really wants you, is when, because you're asking me to define this in terms of motherhood
Yeah.
and not as just family. So
Yeah.
as a mother,
Hmm.
I think the fact that my kids mostly turn to me, no, I think always turn to me when they're down or when they're angry,
Yeah.
is uh, is what
Yeah.
really matters a lot to me, because yeah, I mean, the sheer connect which is there,
Yeah.
because you brought them into this world and you brought them up, or maybe you've not brought them into this world, but you brought them up, different
Yeah.
different types of mothers. And
Yeah.
I strongly believe that I have friends who love um,
Adoptive kids.
not human
Yeah.
kids,
Not
adoptive
human
human
kids.
kids
Yeah.
certainly, but also not human kids as much as or more than
Yeah.
any mother loves her, you know, part of herself. So I think that love really is the one thing that defines us all, and that the emotional kind of connection
Yeah.
is what I really love, because yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, and
you know.
it really, really sounds, while you're talking about love, it really sounds like, kind of boundless love that
Ah,
there is. It's just like I'm having goosebumps as we speak. But
ah.
you also said, Diyasree, yourself, and one of the learnings that you have given us already in terms of how you take learnings from your motherhood journey into your work in terms of staying calm and staying positives. But are there any unexpected skills that you have developed as a parent that come in handy as in your professional life?
So, yes, I'll answer that shortly, but I'd first like to clarify that I'm not trying to say I'm calm and patient with my kids.
Yeah, got it.
I'm we blow up at each other all the time. So, but I learned to be calm from there and other times because with the patience, that love will make sure that we come back
Yeah,
together. Maybe we'll just we're very emotional people. Everyone in in my family is. So maybe we'll pour out the emotions that are the result of being hungry sometimes.
yeah,
You're hungry, you're cold, you're uncomfortable, you're annoyed, you snap, right?
yeah,
But love will make sure that you understand each other and you give each other, and it doesn't matter. You forget it
yeah.
after it happens. That's not the
Case
same
for
expectation that the world holds for you or that applies at work. And therefore, you have to not bring out that personality at work. But I think the skill that the real actual skill, and this has been incredible that motherhood has taught me, is to be flexible.
yeah,
I'm I'm incredibly I've learned to be flexible in everything,
yeah,
and how I think about people and how I think about work and how I think about how to deliver that work, while at the same time you have some ideals that you hold good to.
right. Yeah,
So for me, for example, for me and the kids, love is the one thing that we don't give up on.
yeah,
Being together is the one thing that we hold good to. That in work would translate to um the quality of work that you do.
yeah,
That's really, really important. And in my profession, for example, it's really important to send the book to print on time.
yeah,
That's a bit of a do or die. So the time that you have to do that work, the time that we have together, the work that you do, the actual quality, the quality of love, those two are my, are an ideal.
non-negotiables.
That's absolutely, yeah. That doesn't change. How to get there?
Yeah,
That I've learned how to be flexible in.
yeah,
That it doesn't matter if you're waking up 5 minutes late, if you're dropping them off by car when they should actually have taken the bus. That's not the biggie. The
yeah,
fact that when you're dropping them off by car, you're getting 30 minutes extra
yeah,
together, or maybe 10 minutes extra of sleep for yourself or them. That's the joy that you take out of that. Are you going
yeah,
to stick to that ideal? And I know that this is different for different people, right?
yeah,
I know that there are some people who, as a family, they share that discipline and everybody wakes up early and everybody does things together and all of that. And I'm really happy for them, but that's not how it works for us.
yeah,
And I can't tell my kids, or I shouldn't tell my kids to do things that I'm not doing myself.
yeah,
I'm a I'm someone who enjoys working at night. I'm someone who enjoys staying up at night. They're going to be like me.
yeah,
Trying to force that to happen otherwise is just going to be forcing that.
yeah,
So finding that, trying to understand, Dia has taught me this a lot. We are so identical as people that obviously we're in conflict a lot of the time.
yeah,
And trying to understand each other, even when you absolutely feel like what this person is asking is impossible, or this is not correct. Finding that soft spot of, you know, why does someone want someone the way that they want it, and learning to be the adult in the situation.
yeah,
That's an invaluable life skill,
yeah,
because I'm frequently, when I'm with the kids, I'm not the adult in the situation. I'm also being the person having the tantrum because I have an expectation. I've come
yeah,
home from work, I'm tired. I they're doing things for me continuously, but there's one small thing that somebody hasn't done, maybe there's some homework that hasn't been done,
Yeah.
etc. And then that one small thing becomes the point that you fixate on, right?
Yeah.
Ignoring the 50 other things that
100.
that person has
Yeah.
done for you.
Yeah.
uh that is something that I'm still learning too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still a process of learning for me, so I still continue to make mistakes, but that's something that I've learned already, that that's important,
Yeah.
not to fixate on the one thing that's going wrong, and to get enough positive energy from everything else that is going right to
Yeah.
fix that one thing. And
Yeah.
maybe that thing is just looking wrong to you in that moment,
Yeah.
but it's not a life changing thing. So every once in a while my daughter will say that, what's more important to you, you
Mm.
know me, or the fact that I'm not wearing this particular dress that you want me to wear.
Yeah.
That's immediate
Yeah. You
course
snap
correction.
back and
Yeah. and
yeah.
and sometimes you don't snap back, you
Yeah.
snap and then you snap back. I at least
Yeah. Yeah.
I snap because from my sense of the world, my perspective, yes, it is important that
Yeah.
she wears that thing correctly because this is so important, etc., etc. But then in a few seconds you take that step back and you're like, okay, how important is it exactly? So
Yeah.
that invisible hammer that the world is always kind of holding in place, and you think that the world is going to hit you with if you don't do things in exactly this way. I've realized that's not just an invisible hammer; it's a non-existent hammer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really, uh, that perspective. I try. I won't say I always succeed, but I try to have it at work.
Right.
And I try to understand other people's point of view, as long as we're all journeying towards the same
Right.
direction.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I will understand or I will try to understand someone else's point of view if they're just there for the heck of it.
Yeah.
But as
Yeah.
long as they're not, as long as
Yeah.
they're there because they have the commitment to the two things that are most
Yeah.
important, yeah, I mean,
Mm.
flexibility is that
Yeah.
one skill that really works for me.
This is fantastic. Like, I love the way you've put it, and also how it's not a parallel, but how you draw a parallel. Because, as you said, you are not calm and patient so much at home while at work. How the learnings from this sphere translate into a probably modified or better behavior in someplace else. That's really fantastic. And initially, you mentioned, Diyasree, when you were talking about your family, that the family is not just the three of you, but the extended support system. And I am sure, especially, I mean, for every parent, it's important, but especially as a single parent, it must be crucial for you. The support system that you have. Can you tell us about the people who support you in this journey and your children? Who are they, and how does it look like?
Um, as I said, there are many people.
Mm.
I mean, even I'm very lucky in the friendships that I have.
Yeah.
I mean, there are friends that I may not meet for months at end, or days at end, or even years at end, but they are there, and I know that they are there for me as much as they ever were, kind of thing. So that very extended um system of uh, people who are there is
Yeah.
actually quite a bit. And strangers who help you on the way, that's
Yeah.
also there. So but the very immediate,
Yeah.
people who are there are obviously, as I said, my parents and my sister. And I've got a lovely little nephew also who will be disappointed if I don't meet him, mention him. And yeah, because he's the third sibling in the equation for the two of them. Although my sister and I, we live in different cities,
Mhm.
so obviously it's a bit of a long distance thing, but yeah, it's a very close kind of relationship. um my parents, we live together now,
Yeah.
and so that very actual support is
Yeah.
something that I don't even need to describe. They take care of us
Yeah.
rather than us taking care of them. And the way my son will fetch and carry for me. Like if I say, oh,
Yeah.
like right now I wanted to change my earphones, I was like, Sham, get the bag from the other room, and he went and did that. Or if I tell Tia and I really need something, you know, I need water, I want something, etc. And sometimes she's very thoughtful, so
Yeah.
she will come and give you things that you didn't know you needed, and then suddenly you
Oh,
realize, oh wait, I did need this.
yeah.
Yeah, so they've both got that going. And the same thing is what the three of us try to do for my parents. So
Wow.
literally we're like their errand kids. But the actual taking care of, it could be the household, it could be
Yeah.
us. That is something that they are the backbone of this family. And I've always been, I'm incredibly lucky to have the parents that I do,
Yeah.
and the sister that I do, of course. And they brought her up and made sure that she's like the good elder sister, you
Yeah.
know. So my sister was always the one taking the fall. If if the two of us did something wrong, then um, she would be the one that was the more mature one, the more graceful one, the incredibly more generous one,
Mm-hmm.
So I I would always be like, Acha, she got one piece of chocolate, I got one piece of chocolate. Yes, this is fair.
Yeah.
And Didi would be like, you want the second piece. And then
Yeah.
if I didn't want it, have it kind of thing. So that generosity comes from I won't draw comparisons. I don't know if it's my mother more or my father more because they've both um, and they wouldn't even think of it as sacrifice, okay?
Yeah.
But they've both just done things because that was the thing that needed to be done.
Yeah.
That's how they think of it. But if I were to start describing it, um, in terms of, if you had to use dictionary definitions, then sacrifice and generosity and trust and love have been everything,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, it's not uh, we're not like super rich or
Yeah.
um but I don't ever recall my entire childhood, I don't recall ever asking for something and not getting it
Yeah.
in the first place, and in the second I don't recall ever even having to ask for anything much
Yeah.
because it was always there before you wanted it.
Good. Yeah.
But it was a simpler world. I'm not able to do that for my kids. I know that for a fact because there are when now the world has so many things that you want,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to be able to give an iPad to every child and a gaming PC or whatever
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
I'm in our time that ask was really books,
Yeah.
and I'm very lucky that the kids also want a lot of books and they love their books and all of that. So that is fulfilled completely.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I mean, in the day-to-day things, the material things that you want,
Yeah.
uh, but perhaps I I know practically that I'm always going to lack in because there is no end to the material things that you want, right? But when I was a kid, it never felt that way.
Yeah.
I felt that I had every material thing you could possibly want and then some.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that the material support, the emotional support, the support in terms of being there, that's something that my parents have always kind of provided, and and that's made my sister and me what we are,
Yeah.
and because of that I get
Mm.
that complete support from my sister as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Sounds like a very, very strong, strongly built and strong family unit. And I think that's what makes all the difference, especially when you want to do it all and you are seemingly all alone in it. So mm,
I've never felt alone in it
yeah, yeah,
because of that.
yeah,
But I think I wouldn't have felt alone also because of the kids themselves,
yeah.
um, because so till before COVID, my parents lived in a different city,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the initial few years we were at it alone
Yeah,
together, and they were there emotionally long
yeah,
distance, but not really in terms of being there at home when. when someone falls sick or if you're traveling and all of that,
Yeah.
that wasn't there. So I managed with a support system which had
Yeah.
me helpers and so on. Um, and there itself, as I said, like the kids themselves are so supportive at all times and so accepting of things and so understanding of things that the three of us as a unit kind of uh, were we
Mm.
were quite, yeah,
Accommodating of each
we
other.
were quite accommodating of each other. That's an excellent way to put it. But yeah, Mane, having this has made it happier. You wouldn't, Mane, and it's not that I'm not lovely as it sounds. It's not as if we don't have fights or we don't not
Yeah.
get along. I mean, there
Yeah.
are, and obviously I'm the bridge, but these two generations are like, my God.
Yeah.
So my dad's 80 and my son's like 11, let's say.
Yeah.
And yeah, Mane, there are enough moments of we don't really like each other, and he doesn't like me, and he doesn't like me, all of
Yeah.
that. It's not that in my dad's world universe. You can't imagine kids not, his kids or his kids
Yeah.
not loving him. So that's okay.
Yeah.
But the younger generation, on the other hand, is always so like, if they get scolded for something which is absolutely their fault, that just translates into so and so doesn't love me.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a lot of meltdowns and you know all of that. But as I said, Mane, is that the more important thing? No, we try
Mm.
not to let it be the more.
Yeah.
There are times, of course,
Yeah.
when I feel, and I think that as young people, the younger we are, the more sensitive we are.
Yeah.
Um, for adults, sometimes it's very difficult to remember that um, a young person's pain is as much as theirs.
Yeah.
They think that, you haven't had your heart broken, or even if you have had your heart broken, it's just a, you know, whatever,
Yeah.
young love or whatever, or uh, why that this pain is less than the pain of adulthood.
Yeah.
Older
Yeah.
people often tend to think that. But I think that at that time, with the maturity that you
Yeah.
have, with the emotions that you have, the pain is as much or more, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's formative pain.
Yeah.
So it's it's a time when you're still, your mind is forming about so many things that
Yeah.
you do at times. I see my kids and I think that there are moments when they feel like they are victims in one way or the other. Um, it's something that we're learning, uh, you know, learning from, but I don't know if we've succeeded yet because it's not a now thing. It's a
Yeah.
so far in the future thing that I don't know if I'm always doing the right thing. I think I
Yeah.
constantly question that
Yeah.
because
And
I worry about how they're going to grow up and be.
yeah. And within all of this, I'm sure there are some moments when all of it feels very overwhelming, as a parent. And can you think of a time, maybe one specific incident where you felt particularly challenged, and being a mother, and how you navigated that, and probably if you're looking back on it now, what have you learned from that, so to say?
So I think that it's it's every week. Like if I have to, I could probably go a week back and find an incident, and another week back and find an incident. And the good thing is that for the most part, the incidents have been left behind.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you ask me now to say, think of a moment in the last 11 years or 10, I would really find it hard to say that, you know, that moment completely destroyed us because it
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Here we are. We found a fix. We found a solution.
Yeah.
Maybe it was difficult then, and then we moved on. So
Yeah.
if I have to, then I'll say that, So let's say a week or two ago,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So at the beginning of July this year, first week of July, um, the kids' school was reopening. So
Yeah.
we were getting back from that long summer month of, absolute, uh, absolutely amazing chaos and,
Yeah.
you know, living life the way we wanted to having to get up at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock
Yeah.
every morning and go back to school. They reopened school and they had exams,
Yeah.
the midterm exams. Immediately after school, they had to submit this holiday homework, which we done during the holidays, but there's always finishing touches,
Yeah.
and the amount of holiday homework that schools expect you to do is unrealistic.
Yeah.
It's like a month of school, really,
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
at. So there were these three things on this front. I had to travel for nearly the entire week for a conference.
Oh,
It was local in the sense that it was in the same city, but we were expected to stay there at night.
right. Yeah.
And there's this course work that I was doing. I had classes online
Yeah.
and submissions of
Yeah.
assignments that week. So work and personal day and the kids all kind of
Came
came
together.
together into like this one amazing week. So there was one night I remember when I was in the meeting from morning till evening, and then at evening I drove back home. It's about an hour's drive, and then we had to complete some little bit of holiday homework and do some bit of unit tests. And then I slept for an hour, and I stayed up the whole night writing the assignment that I had to submit. And then in the morning at like 7, I drove, dropped the kids and their gigantic cultural dioramas to school, went off to my
The
conference venue, and
conference.
did the meeting the whole day.
Wow. Wow. Running on 1 night, 1 hour sleep.
1 hour of sleep there, yes.
Wow.
And it's not something I'm proud of, not
Yeah.
for a second, because I know the damage that I've done to myself in terms of health
Yeah.
is is not something that is going to
Reflect
sustain me in the
well. Yeah.
not at all. So that's also there. So among the emotional pressure,
Yeah.
there is that consciousness. There is that consciousness of um, you know, what damage you're doing in other
Yeah.
places. And of course, when you're doing all of this, it's not as if you're always being very calm and very
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
moments of, in the morning, my mom was the one who was having to pack the tiffin and all of that,
Yeah.
because obviously, like, and so grateful I was to have her pack that tiffin, because otherwise all of this couldn't have happened.
Yeah.
um and this is, you know, this is quite a few times
Yeah.
it's happened. It's not that it's the first. It'll be a different set of circumstances,
Yeah.
but there will be, when you're trying to do so many things together and they're still so young, that a lot of their things are being done by me. So it's like if they've got a test, the pressure is on them as much as it is on me, because I have to sit and do the studying with them.
Yeah.
So this is like, there's going to recur, if not on a weekly basis, then on a monthly basis. There'll be some set of like three things coming together and a deadline that has to be done, and yeah,
Yeah.
and everything feels like it's impossible to do,
Yeah.
and it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Um, but over time, I've also figured out the fix for that,
Yeah.
the my working fix, and why this could happen. Um, I had, in that 24-hour run, the the actual quantum of work that, if I put it down on a list and I kind of said it, was much more than I actually did,
Yeah.
because the homework that has to be submitted, there are maybe four subjects, or the
Yeah.
assignment that has to be submitted, there are maybe four assignments. What situations like this teach you is they teach you how to prioritize,
Yeah.
because there's always something in that lot which is not important,
Yeah.
and most of the time you'll find that out of the 10 things that you think you have to do, only two have to be done on that day,
Yeah. Or in that moment.
in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you learn to pick those two.
Yeah.
And that's a great skill to have at work as well,
Yeah.
to identify
Mhm.
the most important thing which needs to be done then and there. Because everybody who's asking you for work or is waiting for you to do something thinks that their work is the most important. And for
Yeah.
them, certainly it is.
Yeah.
But if you're the adult in the room,
Yeah.
then you're sometimes the only person who has the perspective or who
Hmm.
has the knowledge
Hmm.
as to this person has this much work still to do. So
Yeah.
if I give them this a day later, it's going
Yeah.
to be okay.
Yeah.
You get the equivalent. So that's what you learn as a skill. That in that moment, this is the one thing that cannot, if it doesn't happen now, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
This is the last day for so and so, and this is something which someone is asking for 2 weeks in advance because they like to have their work planned. Um, it's not also always fair.
Yeah.
Other people also have to learn to be flexible with you.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you're in a situation where there is someone who's very inflexible because they feel the pressure
Hmm.
of having to wait for you to do something.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand, Mani? If there is someone who has their life so sorted that
Yeah.
they like to
Everything
plan
is
in
planned too.
advance,
Yeah.
then every time you break that, you're actually making it very difficult for them.
Yeah.
But what I've learned along the way is that everybody is open to dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, if you keep having that conversation and help them to understand your perspective, then no one's really, um, you know, no one's really going to, how should I put it? Uh, no one's really out there to make someone else's life difficult.
Yeah.
Nobody, and
Yeah.
just nobody is working that way.
Yeah.
That they're not actually actively thinking that, how can I make this person's life difficult? They're just trying to make their own life easy and while getting their work done.
Yeah.
So that I think is why dialogue works,
Yeah.
why it is possible to find solutions, and yeah, that's how we kind of
Yeah.
that's the learning that I have, and
Yeah, beautiful. I think you've said it very beautifully, and I think it's a very, very evolved and mature way of looking at things. And I really love the fact that you said, which is true, but we fail to understand in the moment when you say that nobody is out there to make your life difficult. It's just that I think they say it's not about what you say, but how you say it. So I think a lot of it gets lost in the medium and how it's communicated. So I think if that is sorted, a lot of it can be taken care of. But now moving the focus, from the learnings and this, the skills to little bit more of fun. I know that your children are very goofy and they keep you entertained, but are there any hidden talents or surprising quirks with both of them that are like, completely, they have taken you over the years, they have taken you completely by surprise?
um, surprise, no.
Mm-hmm.
I think as mothers we see it coming.
Yeah.
So will I say absolutely by surprise? Maybe not. Um, but uh, I tried, yes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'd rather use that word
Yeah.
than surprise because, um, you know, you even when you see it coming, you're just overwhelmed by the sense of, oh my God, I mean, this person said this or this person did this, and that's just so okay. Um, but if I'm going to be specific, I think that everything in this journey so far has kind of fits into that
Yeah.
category. I mean, I one day realized my kids were reading,
Mm.
and
Mm.
that was a moment of, how it just watching that happen, even when you're there and you're part of that journey,
Yeah.
it's still kind of it's still one of those things that are a revelation, an epiphany, a moment kind of,
Yeah.
and a moment of joy. And I should clarify this. So, for example, reading sounds like a very normal activity, right? Let's
Yeah.
do it and all of that. It's the book that they pick up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one that really, really gets you because uh, my daughter, when she was still at the point of reading by just recognizing the first letter of the word,
Yeah.
and then doing guesswork on what that possible word could be from the context.
Yeah.
That's how she acquired reading, right? Um, at that point of time, she would pick up books, therefore, which had words which were well beyond her level.
Yeah.
And the reason she was able to navigate it was just this sheer, it didn't matter to her that this is a book which has big words,
Yeah.
right? Um, because she wasn't looking at word length as a complete word that had to be read.
Yeah.
She just went to it as, yes, I can understand the context of the sentence. I understand out of 8 words in a sentence, I understand 5 words out of them. I'll make a guess
Figure
as to
out.
the other
Yeah.
three and we'll be fine. That, watching that happen.
Yeah.
So to take an example, and they started with comic books.
Yeah.
So they started reading Tintin, Asterix, and Calvin and Hobbes
Hmm.
at around, I think it would have been around 7 or 8
Yeah.
years, so a couple of years back. Um, and at that point of time, I mean, there were enough words that they were getting stuck at, and enough
Yeah.
ideas that they were getting stuck at. Because Asterix, for example, I mean, discovering the Gauls and the Romans and Julius Caesar, and school is nowhere near there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it just happened. They just went at it and they kind of uh, figured things out on their own.
Yeah.
That incredible ability to figure things out on their own. So Tia loves drawing,
Yeah.
and now I find her, using Notepad and all these tools and that I don't even know about.
Yeah.
And she's just constantly every day improving. She'll go watch a video tutorial
Yeah.
and on the basis of that understand a few tools to use, and I'm seeing her training herself
Yeah.
to be
Hmm.
to use tools like that.
Yeah.
Sham Sanle, I found him editing videos, and it started from wanting to upload videos,
Yeah.
and went into, you know, again, watching tutorials, understanding what to do, and acquiring new skills. That interest in, in learning something
Yeah.
and in doing it independently.
Yeah.
And I'm an editor as well,
Mhm.
at least not a great video editor, but I could probably taught him a few things. I do sometimes, we'll do something together, but that's like a tip,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
tip or a trick that he's okay. I'm passing by. I'll teach him something. He's okay with that. But he doesn't want me to teach him from scratch.
Yeah. The
You know,
foundational
the
level.
foundational learning is,
Yeah.
so we'll be sitting and reading together, and maybe there'll be something that is ours, but it's not that they're expecting me to um, teach them how to read, for example, and that's never been there.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know if it kind of qualifies as a quirk, but that it is from that independence that I said they have.
Yeah.
Um, that has been something that has,
Hmm.
um, taken me by pride rather
Yeah,
than
and and
taken me
and
by
it's
surprise.
so like I'm so glad that we are, even though the listeners will listen it on audio, but I'm so glad that we are doing it on video because I can, that pride is so palpable on your face, and I wish our listeners could see
It's the
that.
afternoon sun, but yeah,
Yeah, you can only fool us that much, but
no, I actually don't try. I like when I'm out of makeup, I have this generated glow which comes from just thinking of my kids. It works.
Yeah, so yeah, works beautifully. And Diyashree, if you like looking back on your childhood, are there any special traditions or activities from there apart from reading, because we've discussed that a lot, but are there any traditions or activities that you've incorporated in your parenting style to maybe recreate that magic, so to say, for your kids?
I doubt it,
Mm,
because I think that any of the childhood, so say for example, obviously, phones weren't there.
Yeah.
but mobile phones came in by the time I was in college, right?
Yeah.
And my dad had a very strict rule about no phones at the dinner table.
Mm.
Now, move forward 20 years, and my dad is the one with the phone at the dinner table until the point where I told him, no, look, the rule still holds good.
Yeah.
But he went through a few years of coming, and doing things on the air. But now, of course, he recognizes that, respects that, and has reinforced his old rule on himself. That's never worked with the kids. So we have, while let's say if we go out for dinner, or if you're going out for a meal or something, normally the whole idea is that you're going out because you want to spend time with each other, right?
Yeah.
And therefore you don't watch mobile phones and all of that. But there will be some days when we've gone out despite all the work challenges that I have,
Yeah.
and therefore I am answering to mails on my
Yeah.
phone every intermittently or having to take calls, etc. And then when the kids kind of say that, you're doing it
You
and
are
you're
doing
leaving
it.
us alone, you're
Yeah.
not giving us the I've not fought that fight. I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, okay, it's fair. You do your thing, I'll do mine. We're together in a place,
Yeah.
but so rarely do I kind of try to um enforce that. But other things that we have, so we used to celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
My my mother went to a school which is, a missionary
Yeah.
school. Uh, Convent, as they like to say. And therefore, Christmas was a very big thing for her. And the city that I grew up in, Calcutta,
Yeah.
Christmas was a very, very big thing for us. We celebrated every festival. And I think I try to do that with the kids as well. So we will have biryani for Eid and, celebrate Christmas and all of that. But Christmas used to be about finding gifts under our pillow.
Yeah.
So they've always had uh, finding gifts under the Christmas tree.
Wow.
So, yeah, and for the longest time, there would be all this Santa Claus is going to come, and
Yeah.
Santa Claus still comes. There
Uh-huh.
are occasionally slightly cynical comments about
Mm.
who
Is he
Santa
real?
is,
Yeah.
but it's still magically cynical in the sense that they want to believe that there is
Yeah.
Santa and Santa is
Yeah.
coming, and but the real world is telling them otherwise. So
Yeah.
they're fighting that, and they're like, no, it is Santa. And if they're having a bad day, then they'll be like, there's mom. But we still believe in Santa. So that might be one of the childhood traditions that I've carried forward. Very little of anything else. As I said, Mane, our childhood was much simpler. There wasn't
Yeah.
too much to do. Um, Too many places to go to and all of that. The other thing, of course, no, that I think my very magical childhood was full of was travel.
Mm.
So Bengalis love traveling, right?
Yeah.
And earlier, when the world had not discovered traveling, I think to that extent. Today, it's very different.
Yeah.
But even 10, 15 years back, when I used to go to places in say in the mountains in North
Mm.
India, there would always be one, you know, Dada Bodhi Bengali style
Yeah.
food hotel. And the taxi drivers would know a few words of Bengali
Mm.
because they were like every year during that Dasera, the
Yeah.
puja, the Durga Puja time, hordes of Bengali families will come and they will have very detailed itineraries. And in 10 days, they will try to see everything. And they're like very serious sightseeing people, like wake up at 6 in the morning and get as much as you can done, and very stingy.
Yeah.
They'll come with a very fixed budget. So they don't tip liberally. 20 rupees feels like a great tip, whereas someone from another community might give 100. But very, like very, very passionate travelers. We had that. Some of it was because my dad was, shooting in various parts of India. He would take us along,
Yeah.
and we'd be there for a very long time. So I remember one trip that we did where we went from Delhi to Rajasthan to Gujarat to Bombay and then back to
Wow.
Delhi and then Calcutta. So that
Yeah.
was like a month-long travel. That's the longest that I've ever traveled. But every year there would be at least one or two trips to
Mm.
different places. And we'd go to museums, that was for sure. Even
Yeah.
if he was there for work, he'd still make sure that there was at least one afternoon when we went and saw a museum. And we'd not actually spend too much time. Maybe, yeah, it would be a very we'd do the food,
Yeah.
we'd do the history of the place, and we would also, because especially if he was, if there was a set or something, then we'd spend some time there, and we'd spend some time with uh, whoever was traveling with us. But the whole family feel was there. So
Yeah.
we were there as a family. We were having fun, and we were breaking rules.
Yeah.
So you could have chai like 5 times a day, or eat at odd hours, and
Yeah.
that kind of a thing. We do that.
Yeah.
I think Sham was like 6 months old when we took him to Rani.
Wow.
He, of course, remembers nothing of that. And, he slept through it all and just, survived on whatever, stewed apples, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, stewed apples and porridge and all of that. So I had to go for exams to another city, and I packed them into the car, and it was a 5 hour journey, five,
Yeah.
6 hours drive, and we drove down, all
Yeah.
of us, and we managed to, at least see the museum, even if mom was gone for a few hours in the day for uh, studies, we were still kind of spending time together.
Yeah.
So I think that's the
Yeah.
one other thing that
Yeah, sounds
matches.
very beautiful, and I think it sounds very like it sounds very involved more than anything. I think that's the word that comes to my mind. And Diyasree, if I were to now fast forward, say 20 years, 25
Mm.
years, what's that one thing that you hope that your children will remember about their childhood?
That I hope, or that will actually happen.
I think that both maybe.
Both. So I can, because I can answer the other one. So Tia, for example, on days when she's really unhappy with me, will say that when I grow up,
Mm-hmm.
I will tell people that my childhood games were Roblox.
Oh,
Roblox is this video gaming platform
okay.
for little kids. Your son is still too small to uh, have
It's
reached
all
that,
coming for me.
but it'll happen at some point of time, maybe when they're 8 or 10,
Yeah,
or not. I don't know. I mean, I
yeah,
don't know how. You know. Obviously, my kids had some of their formative years during the COVID lockdown.
yeah.
So they were in class 1 and 2 when the
Hmm.
lockdown happened. And I pulled them out of school. I
Yeah,
watched online school for about 3 months or something. I gave it a quarter, and then I gave up on it,
yeah,
absolutely, because it and I think that there are too many kids that I know of that it's really not helped,
yeah,
because you were spending more and more time on laptops or phones
yeah,
or whatever, and the classroom connect that needs to happen and all that, it didn't happen. Like in education, we keep talking about a learning gap, and
yeah,
it was so visible post pandemic when kids actually went back to physical school. So these guys didn't go through that.
yeah,
I Within about 3 months, I pulled them out. I said, "You're learning nothing." My mom was there, and we drew up a syllabus and got the books, and they were homeschooled for two
wow,
years
wow.
And as a result, when they went back to school, Hindi was a zero,
Mm.
because obviously we'd not been able to teach them anything there. But in terms of reading and writing and everything else, they were, absolutely able to keep up with the class. Uh, but during that time, there was still, like break time, you couldn't go
Yeah,
down, etc. You couldn't go out to play for many months. So they did spend a lot of time on devices anyway.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that habit has still stayed. So while we're like, okay, it has to be, as I said, money, they'll teach themselves video editing, or they'll play educational games or whatever,
yeah,
all of that.
yeah,
But I mean, I see that as a very continuous part of their
yeah,
daily life, the number of hours that they spend on devices. And it's very hard for me to also, um, I mean, it's not a question of being hard or not, but it's impossible for me to think otherwise, because when I look at my daily life and the amount of work that I get done using devices, and the degree of comfort that I have to have with technology, um, I don't have a problem with the skills that they're acquiring,
Yeah.
and these are long-term skills. Like, my son had a summer holiday homework where he had to write a storyboard for a comic.
Oh.
Okay, that was their summer holiday home. So like that project where, and he refused to do it without me. He
Mm.
said, "No, you have to be there. I don't know how to do a storyboard, etc., etc." But when the day actually came, I was out traveling for some work. He
Yeah.
had to do it himself.
Yeah.
Life makes sure that you
Yeah.
get these lessons, right? So after a month of refusing to do it unless I was there on the actual day, he had to write the story himself and all that. And then when he went at it, and the finished product, which had a little bit of editing for me, but very little. I mean, the finished product was such that I took it to work and I showed it to people, and they kind of were did go into shock. Let's
Yeah.
be honest
Yeah.
here. Really, like 11-year-olds can do this,
Yeah.
and that's just the skill set that you've got the ideas.
Yeah.
The technology will not give you the idea. You can't
Yeah.
ask AI to write the story for you. You
Yeah.
can, but it won't
But
sound like your story.
yeah. Yeah.
So you have to write the story, but then you can, so we used PowerPoint and we used
Yeah.
Copilot to generate the images for
Yeah.
the storyboard. You can get technology to do that for you, and
Right.
you save on time and effort and all of that, and you do. These are skills that will be useful for you later. So I don't try to take them away from
Yeah.
us, as a number of
Fair
parents
enough.
do.
Yeah.
Don't. And as a result, they've had phases where they're creating games, trying
Yeah.
to create games and not just playing games. So Roblox is this platform which allows you to create games and to
Oh,
play, kind of
okay.
thing, right? So Tia, when she's really mad, is like, when I grow up, I will tell people that my childhood games were Roblox.
Hmm.
And that's when, so for example, right now while we were on this call, she came and she tried to play those. So
Yeah.
Sham tells me, but there will be times when I'm here. So she'll come to me with like the game of life or Uno or those,
Yeah.
or these two or three games which are her favorite. And I'll be like, no, I can't do this in the middle of a meeting.
Yeah.
And then she'll scream and go away saying, I will tell people that, I spent all my time playing video games in my childhood because my mother wasn't there for me, etc.
Wow.
So that's the one that they probably will remember. A lot of video gaming and a lot of gaming and yeah, things
Yeah.
like that. But what I hope they will remember is just that, you know, whatever the together time is,
Yeah. Hmm.
the fact that whatever time we spent together, even if it was like the three of us doing three different
Things.
things,
Yeah.
it was still the three of us in one room spending time together as a family.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds, yeah, I think this is, I I don't know. I sense a lot of peace and lot of I think maturity in that sense, in how you have created this ecosystem and how it is so fulfilling, uh, with like trying not to fight the circumstances or better the situation in a way, but making the most out of it in a very very practical and doable sense. It's I think that's what I take out of it. So it just sounds very you know very nice to me from here. And I think we are coming to an end of this episode, Diyasree, but like I have two last questions to go. One question is that in the more than a decade of your parenting, is there a life-saving hack or tip that has made your life significantly easier when it comes to juggling work and your babies? Have you learned anything of that sort?
Mm, nothing that I haven't mentioned so far. Um, be available,
Mm.
I think. Uh, like let people know you're there and be there.
Yeah.
That now that's the core of what I do, whether it's at work or what I try to do, whether it's at work or at EA. Because you as a mother or you at work is is the whole role, right?
Yeah.
You're there for a reason. Like if you're a mother, then there are certain things that you need to do or that your kids are going to need you for. Similarly, whatever role you've been put in at work, there are things that the organization expects from you and all of that, right? And I think one thing that I've already kind of talked about is that, and I've even because the circumstances have allowed me to do it, whether at work or at home, is to make sure that I do the work in my own time.
Right.
So I've never kind of tried to insist on a 9 to 5 for myself at work.
Yeah.
Although there are many people for whom it works beautifully, right?
Yeah.
You do that 9 to 5 and then that you make more time for people otherwise. And that's how they function. But that's not who I am. That's not how I function. My work does spill way over in my headspace itself. It
Yeah.
kind of stays with me as much as the baby stays. So, I try to get my work done or my family time
Mm.
whenever I can, whenever
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
If my if I'm doing some kind of work and I need to do it now.
Yeah.
For example, this call, which
Yeah.
I'm going to think a little bit of as well.
Yeah. Huh.
I will slot it in when it's a good time for me.
Yeah.
That may or may not be the so-called defined time. Similarly,
Right.
I will make time for family in the middle of a working day,
Yeah.
but and then so that kind of juggling things around. When you're doing that, what really matters is that everybody else in the ecosystem who depends on you should know that you're available and that if they need you, you will be there.
Right. Yeah.
So my kids have to know that. People at work have to know that. Uh, that's the one thing that I think has always worked for me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not a hack per se, but it also is for me. And
Yeah.
you can't message it in words.
Yeah.
You can keep saying it in words, but you can't actually.
Yeah.
You have to uh, you have to walk the talk.
Yeah.
So I've tried, and I'll also put it on record that I have um, because life has three parts. So
Yeah.
there's kids and there's work and there's friends. I failed in the third triangle.
Yeah.
So so my friends, I think at times they'll be like, we were calling you 5 times and you didn't pick up the phone, and then you surface a week later,
Yeah.
and it could have been an emergency.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, but you were calling 5 times and you didn't drop like 3 messages saying it's an emergency. So in my head, it's not an emergency. And then they have to adjust with that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like I depend as much on everyone to kind of be understanding as I try to be understanding of other people.
Yeah.
Very give and take for me.
Yeah.
That's how the universe seems to function from
Yeah.
my point of view. So yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of try to do that.
And in continuation of that, as my last question, I will ask you something very, very specific to your situation, which is that of a, single mom. So if you were to give any word of advice or some insight to the fellow single parents, not just moms, but maybe single fathers also who are listening to us, what would that be? How to navigate this journey without getting burnt out or overwhelmed.
Trust your instincts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that everyone, I think that uh, people who are also co-parenting or,
Yeah.
like your normative family
Yeah.
structure, everyone has it difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't think that even, people who are um, both parents are there,
Yeah.
I think they have their own set of challenges as well.
Yeah.
So I know that at times it feels like if you're doing it alone,
Mm.
it's more difficult. Um, for me, honestly, at times it even feels like it's more easy
Mm.
because there is one person who's taking a decision and then who's carrying it out, and there's no one to either cross question you or judge you.
Right.
And while the goal really should be that, okay, two people take a decision and do what is best,
Yeah.
because even when there's a mother and a father, and they both come from different backgrounds, different have different expectations, etc. It's quite difficult, I think, for adults to come to a decision where there's
Consensus. Yeah.
consensus. Yeah,
Yeah.
and to so that there is always going to be a little bit of pull, and the minute things go wrong,
Yeah.
it's
You're the
human
first
instinct
one
all
to.
to say to that, this was
Yeah.
your decision. I
Yeah.
didn't really want it,
Yeah.
even when they've been in it with you. And if
Yeah.
they've not been in the, if there wasn't consensus to begin, then so you're done for.
Right. Yeah.
That's reality for all of us in every situation. That as long as you're successful,
Yeah.
as long as things are working out, everything's great. Like even right now, things are working out, so everything's great.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, if something goes wrong, the
Yeah.
universe goes topsy turvy, then things are not going to feel that great.
Yeah.
But what you can do is that when you're putting in your all,
Mm.
and I think uh, I only speak for myself. I know that I've put in and I
Mm.
am continuing to put in my all. If you've put in as much of yourself as you could, then there will be things you've learned along the way,
Yeah.
right? And there will be things that you acquire as that's what fuels your instinct.
Yeah.
Instinct for me is not something which is just, oh, I woke up and out of the blue I felt ki ye karna hai. That's not instinct.
Yeah.
Instinct is what comes from years of building that particular skill.
Yeah.
So for me, I will hear somebody's voice on the phone in the afternoon, and I'll know that in the evening when I come back, this person has fever.
Yeah.
The other day, my daughter called and she started crying on the phone. And it was something very nominal, etc. So I was very soothing and I wanted to come back immediately. I told her that, my heart hurts when you
Yeah.
cry. And then in the background, Sham said that, how come you never say that to me when I call crying?
Yeah.
So there was that moment of, seeking for attention on both of them. But I knew at that moment that if Dia's calling and crying in the afternoon for no reason whatsoever, she's probably not well.
Yeah.
So I came back as soon as I can, which was still many hours later. And sure enough, like she had fever.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
these are things that instinct is not, some God-given instinct or something that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
whatever.
Or the proverbial mother's instinct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, the
Yeah.
mother's instinct is a very trained instinct.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing, like everything in the affective domain, it kind of is on the basis of a certain kind of building of skills that you've done. The outcome of that is there. So yes, trust your instincts, and kind of uh, go with that,
Yeah.
and don't fixate on anything as this is the ideal and this is what we should be. What works for me
Mhm.
may not at all be what works for anybody else.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to find your own way, um, and do not seek validation from anyone else.
Yeah.
That's my biggest because I mean, I've been very lucky. Like
Yeah.
people have said very kind things, very supportive things, and I've welcomed that. I've appreciated that. I love people who are supportive of me. It
Yeah.
it feels wonderful. But my single source of conviction is what I believe in about
Yeah.
myself deep
Yeah.
down,
Yeah. You
because
don't
that's the only
depend on that validation while it feels good. Yeah.
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 Because what do you do if that validation steps away?
Yeah. Yeah.
So building that kind of dependence in any situation uh, is is problematic. And
Yeah.
I realized that, because the ecosystem that I've built is one that depends on each other.
Yeah.
So there is also, for me also, as I keep saying, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
There are so many small mistakes that I'm making, big mistakes that I'm making. But yeah, it's work in progress. It's
Yeah.
life. It's the journey and not the destination.
Yeah, so beautiful and such powerful advice, dear Shri. Like, I feel that I'm taking away so much from you and your words. And thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story. And I really, really believe that you're a testament to strength, resilience, and unwavering love that parents, I mean, single or otherwise, possess. And your dedication to your children, Sham and Tia, both shines through in every word that you say. And this, the way you've balanced, in your own way, like you say that there are no defined times, and you just find a time for both of them, and your work and friends, even though they fall behind in some ways, but still, I think. It's truly commendable, and I think you are a role model for parents everywhere. And I think we are so grateful to have you on Parenthood today. And I also know that it always isn't easy. There are late nights for you, tough decisions, and moments of pure exhaustion. And yet you persevere and persevere, and putting your children's needs first, and creating a loving and supporting home for them. And we celebrate you and all the incredible single parents out there. I think you're not alone in your journey, as you rightly said. You have a very big support system rooting for you, being along with you all the way. And also I think your physical and virtual communities that are there, and friends who are there, they provide a lot of support and understanding, and if not nothing else, a listening ear. Yeah, so thank you for being here with us, Diyasree. Loved
Mm.
having you here. Thank you. Mhm.
Thank you. But if I may also say something here, I think that what you're doing is also very wonderful. Uh, for
Thank
one thing, I mean, having a platform like this, I think that at the start of the journey, I was telling one of the kids the other day, at the start of the journey, we didn't have too much of information and we didn't have platforms where we could reach out to each other or even hear each other. And I think that the platform is, of course, there today,
Yeah,
much, much more than it was 10 years ago. As an expectant mother, I didn't have anyone to tell me what I could expect
yeah.
because your mother, much as she tries to put it into word, maybe it's been too far back. She doesn't do a very good job. On the other hand, people who are in the same boat at that moment,
Yeah,
with that generation's challenges and advances and everything, it's very different. So, in terms of what you're doing, giving that platform and also creating this very, this very I love talking to you. It was very comfortable. It's been that way before also, like whenever we've had conversations, I love what a good listener you are.
thank you.
I think that's a very core part of who you are, and therefore, and listening patiently when I know that there's also so much that you're thinking and that you've got going, and so much of knowledge
Yeah,
and you know general because you've been experiencing this talking to other people and yeah, right, so much that you could share. This could have been a one way monologue that you kind of set up to give people advice, but I think that that's who Neha also is, right? uh, the person who will give the platform to other people. The little that I've known you, I've kind of felt that. So yeah, so like a really big thank you for that. I think that we're all, as I said, we're all ordinary and we're all extraordinary.
right.
And but this time and space and platform that you're creating, I really hope it goes great distance because it's wonderful to have. And thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you, thank you. I kind of am speechless. I don't know what to say. I have forgotten what I wanted to say now. I'm just basking in this glory that you have said for me. Thank you so much, Diyashree. And yeah, we'll stop now. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning into another episode of Parenthood. Remember, as Diyashree said, you're not alone in this incredible journey. We are all there with you. I hope you found strength and inspiration in Diyashree's story. And if you like this episode, share it with someone who may need to hear this. Subscribe for more stories of inspiration and support. Remember, parenthood is a wild ride, but together we can navigate the twists and turns with a little more laughter, a lot more love, and the knowledge that we are all in this beautiful mess together. Until next time, this is Neha Garg signing off. Stay well and take care.